One of the perks of getting older is that you can't see anymore. And so I have decided that my workshop definitely needs a few more lumens out here. It's not too bad when I'm filming because I have the video lights, but they are not really suitable for, your average woodworking or metalworking project. They're just too delicate. I have 4 of these light fixtures on the ceiling out here in the garage. And I did, well, what I could do, frankly, with them as is, put in some pretty big, these are 300 watt equivalent CFL bulbs. And they're great. They make a ton of light and they don't burn, a ton of electricity. However, fluorescent lights really don't like to be turned on and off, on and off, on and off. So if I come out for a project, no big deal. I turn them on, I leave them on. But if I just need to run out here to grab something, I have to flick on these rather expensive bulbs and grab what I need and then turn them off, and it's really hard on them. Add in the fact that this kind of a bulb is relatively expensive for the number of lumens that it puts out, and the cost gets exponentially higher the bigger you want this bulb to be. Solution to this problem is don't use this kind of bulb. Use the 4-foot fluorescent tubes. That's sort of the standard for shop lighting. It gives you a nice wide distribution of light. The bulbs themselves are relatively cheap. The new T8 technology is very efficient, and I can solve one more problem: exposed glass. If I am not careful carrying around 2x4s or whatever, this thing is going to end up a pile of shards on the floor. So what am I looking for? More light, more sturdiness, and hopefully something that's relatively easy to install. So this is the bad boy that I picked to hang up. It's a 4-tube fixture by Lithonia. I think that's how you pronounce that. Lighting. And I chose it for just a handful of reasons. It's all metal, and it's not that cheap metal that you can see through that the $16 2-bulb fixtures are made of. It is a 4-bulb fixture, so I'll be able to get lots of light out of one fixture. It has a 5-foot cable on it that has plug already attached, and it has a pull chain switch. This particular fixture also has a socket on the end here so that you can daisy chain them. Unfortunately, the pull chain switch does not affect this outlet, so I'm still going to have to turn each one of them on and off by itself. How will I get them plugged in at all, you ask? Good question. I'm going to replace the ceramic light sockets that are up there with this. Ta-da! It has a built-in outlet. And likewise, it has a pull chain. The pull chain on the socket is going to give me the option of turning the individual lamps on and off as well. So maybe what I'll do is I'll get some smaller, lower wattage bulbs, or maybe something that doesn't mind being turned on and off, like LEDs, or God forbid, a good old incandescent bulb, and put them in here, but I will still have the option to turn them on and off as well. Then finally, there's the matter of the bulbs. I went with a 32 watt, 5000 Kelvin, which is plus or minus daylight color balanced bulb to put in these things. I picked the daylight balance for a couple of reasons. One is I have a fair amount of actual daylight coming in here, and shooting the video, it's a real nightmare if you have several different colors of light. So matching the ambient window light is going to help me a lot for you guys. The other thing is that obviously your eyes are geared for daylight. So in terms of seeing fine details, seeing colors accurately, the daylight balanced bulb is about your best bet. Installation is simple enough. We're going to turn the power off at the breaker, and I'm going to run around and I'm going to replace the 4 existing sockets with the 4 new ones. That will give us our handy dandy outlet. And then it's just a matter of actually mounting these from the ceiling and plugging them in. Well, I hope I don't actually have to tell any of you this, but make sure the power is off. At the circuit breaker and at the switch, you do not want to get shocked, especially up on a ladder. Also, hand screwdriver. These ceramic things crack. So resist the temptation to bust out the cordless drill, or worse yet, the impact driver. Take your time, do this by hand, you won't have any trouble. Okay, the astute among you may notice that there are only 2 wires hooked up to this thing. There's a hot and a neutral. There's supposed to be a ground, and fortunately, that wire's in here. It's just not hooked up. We'll take care of that on the new socket. And don't forget, your ground wire is supposed to be bare copper. If your friendly neighborhood contractor painted your ground wire, you're going to have to clean it up. And once all the wires are hooked up, you give it a shove and a twist, and you're in business. The second floor joists run this way, and it's 12 feet from that wall over to that I-beam. The light's 4 feet long, so I need 4 feet, the light, and another 4 feet to put it right in the middle. I actually marked it 4 feet 2 1/4 because the screw that mounts the light is not right at the end of the fixture, it's 2 1/4 in from the end. As for locating the screw in this direction, life's pretty good because I have the screws for the drywall that's on the ceiling are visible through the paint, tells me exactly where the joist is. We'll just double check it with the old stud finder. I'm going to pre-drill for the screw with a very, very small bit just to make absolutely sure that I'm going into the joist. Pretty solid. I just got to mark and drill the other end. We'll be ready to hang this light. Let's talk for a second about prepping this light fixture to hang. It has holes and slots on either end for S-hooks that are where the chain goes to hang it up by design. But I don't want to hang it from chain. I want to flush mount it against the ceiling. That leaves me with two options. I can either hang just the tube assembly and reassemble the whole light once it's on the ceiling, or I can drill holes in the reflector so that I can get at the screw heads here once the whole thing is up. Since I'm working by myself, the hole drilling option is going to be far simpler. I'm going to take a scratch awl, I'm going to go through the hole where I eventually want to put the screw and make a mark for my drill point. There are 2 screws on each side that hold the reflector plate to the assembly, and there are 2 other screws on each side holding the sockets to the reflector. Take them all out. With the fixture disassembled, I can flip the reflector over to where the marks are that I made through the back holes. I'm going to use my hand drill to make just a little starter divot to use on the drill press. On the drill press, I'm going to enlarge in those pilot holes to 1/2 inch so that I can get the bit for the impact driver through the back of the reflector. After the access holes are drilled, you can put the whole thing back together. One little trick, if you use a piece of blue tape on the back side of the light fixture, when you put the screw through it, it'll stay. Now when you go to hang this thing up, the screw's already where you need it. It'll be easy to line up with the pre-drilled holes in the ceiling. All you got to do is shove the impact wrench in there and go to town. All right, YouTube, well, thanks to a little recording snafu, you can see I already have one light up in the back. So you get to join me for the hanging of the second one. Quite frankly, this is a pain in the butt by yourself. Taped in screws or nothing. But since my whole family is terrified of ladders, you get to do what you get to do. I ran out of daylight last night hanging these things up, which I know is ironic to run out of light while hanging up lights. Nevertheless, here we are. These 2 are done. They're all plugged in. They're all wired up, ready to go. You see I've got this bad boy back installed and turned on, and you can see if you look at the bulb and you look at the window at the color temperature difference between daylight and this bulb. So let's fire up the new ones and see what kind of difference it makes. Not bad if I do say so myself. I'm very much going to enjoy having this much light. And again, if you look at the bulbs and you look out the window, you'll see that the new fluorescents are much, much closer to the same color light as what occurs naturally around here. This much more natural color of light is going to make things way easier on the camera and way easier on me when it comes time to put a finish onto my projects. Now that I see what these 2 look like and what they can do, I can't wait to get the rest of them up, but it's not going to happen by itself. Till next time, stay safe, YouTube.